again. So I just finished filming my weekly budget check-in for the third week of February, and I'm going straight in, and I also closed out this first pay period in February. I'm going to go straight in and now budget for the next pay period in February. If you haven't watched that video yet, you might want to do that so you can find out how we ended with $200 and -$4, like how that happened exactly. So this video, we're going to try to come up with a plan to get us back on track. Okay, we are going to start with the paycheck bill tracker. This is for the paycheck that we got on the 20th. For our rollover, we had -204. Our paycheck was $3,382, which means we have $3,178 to work with. This here is my budget. I always do it on Excel first, so we've already finished the first half of the month, so we just have to calculate the expenses for the second half now. And we had one, here I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in. We have already had one unexpected expense for this pay period. One of the doctors that my son Logan sees, they weren't charging us copays, and they just discovered it, and they charged it all at once, so it cost us $200. Our copays are $25 a time, so that means they forgot to charge us 8 times in a row. So that's kind of a bummer, kind of a hard way to start. Let's look at the sinking funds. The sinking funds stay the same, and I have them all listed here, all of the sinking funds. So I went ahead and wrote those down. Birthdays gets 25, car registration gets 15, Christmas 50, emergency 20, extra week 50, garbage 10, vet 20, and miscellaneous 50. So let's add this all up to see how much we're going to set aside for sinking funds. So we're going to set aside $240 for sinking funds. Let's move down now to my variable expenses and my cash envelopes. So in this category, we budgeted $300 for food. So it's only covering a 1-week period, so we should only need to spend $150. That's going to help us out. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and change that because that should be $150. These erasable pens are awesome. They are also listed in my Amazon storefront, and there is a link in the description box below if you want to check that out. Miscellaneous will get 25, gas 40, medical 50, house 100, spending 80, Logan 10, teaching 15, and Fun Friday 20. Okay, so let me add up all of my variable expenses and see how much that is going to be. So that comes to $490, and I'm just going to double check my calculations and make sure that I did that right. Yep, $490. Okay, and then I'm predicting we're going to need $353 to roll over to cover the expenses for our first pay period of March, because our first pay period we do not make enough money in that pay period to cover all the expenses in that pay period. That is why we need to have some rollover money to help cover expenses. So down here, let's go back now to the bill section. These are my fixed expenses, or my pinks and purples. So I'm going to go ahead and add my pinks and purples here right now. So we're going to have a van payment of $445, loan number 2 of $566. Then we have a student loan of $270, and then we have a bill to the city for $315, and wait, Netflix. Oh, we already paid Netflix, so that's done. Okay, so let's see how much this is when we add them all together. 200 plus 445 plus 566 plus 270 plus 315. That came to $17.96, and I'm going to double check my numbers here and make sure I did that right. $17.96. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do all the calculations and see if we have enough to cover this budget. If not, then we're going to have to get tricky and see where we can save some money or pull from envelopes or pull from my Etsy income or my YouTube income. So we do have alternatives, but let's first start with what we have and see where we're at. So we started with $31.78. And so $31.78. We spent $17.96, or we're going to spend that on bills and debts. So minus $17.96. That leaves us with $13.82. Okay. So moving down to our envelopes or our variable expenses, we're starting with $13.82. We're going to spend $4.90 in this category. That leaves us with $8.92. Okay, so I am going to come up here to my sinking funds. We're starting with $8.92. And we're going to spend $240 on sinking funds. This is another category which I can skip if I absolutely have to, if we end up needing that money just to pay our other basic bills. So that came to $6.52. Okay, so let's go to this rollover amount here. It looks like we're going to make it, you guys. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we have $6.52. We need to roll over $3.53 to cover bills in that first pay period. So $6.52 minus $3.53 leaves us with $2.99. And you know what I want to do with that? If we go back to the front of this workbook and look at my financial goals for this year. I wanted to save a $1,000 cushion for my bank account. That way, it just makes me more comfortable. So when we get to like negative numbers like we did this time, I know we have a cushion there to help us out. I also want a $1,000 emergency fund, tax money, and I want to pay off $15,000 of debt. So last month, we were able to add to our emergency fund, and we're almost at $700 now for emergency fund. We have $900 set aside for taxes, and we were able to pay off over $3,000 of debt. I think it's time for me to go and make sure that I have that $1,000 cushion in my account so that I don't have to worry so much. So that is what I'm going to put that money towards. And I'm going to call this $1,000 cushion. Okay, and when I do that, our total savings comes to $6.52, which means we are left with nothing, which is what I want because I do a zero-based budget. I want to have a place for all of my money. Even if I weren't doing the cushion, what I would do with that leftover money is pay extra debt. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use my normal income to pay any extra debt this month. So I'm going to go ahead and cross that off. But I do have Etsy and YouTube income that I ended up not needing to bail out my family. And I can actually put that towards my extra debt, which is very exciting. So at this point, it looks like we are going to be okay. Looking at the calendar here, we have this week to go to accomplish this. I think we can do it. I'm feeling more positive now. At the end of the last video, I was feeling a little bit like, I don't know, we really screwed up. But I'm feeling like it's going to be okay. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, will you please give it a thumbs up? And I will see you all again next time. Bye, everyone.